I'm back again. I think I'm gonna take Sundays off. Um, there's not much that's happened news wise for me to really comment on. Uh, I said what was going to happen with Portland and what was happening, and they're running. The narrative is running. The mayor and the governor of Oregon is all pissed off, and now they're looting again in Seattle, and Seattle mayor's acting like nothing's wrong until they probably come to her house, and then she throws them out. Not unlike St. Louis. Um, Actually, no, Seattle. They already went to her house. I'm thinking of Portland. They haven't gone there yet. Yeah, they went to her house. That's when they cleared out the Chaz. Was after it became inconvenient for the people in power. Now they're bitching about the feds, but it's like if you have a group of people trying to burn down a federal courthouse and you do nothing to prevent that, like your local police are told to stand down, like of course the feds are going to defend themselves. Like they're supposed to. It's federal property. I don't know. Part of me says, well, maybe the Fed should just leave and let the city collapse. But at the same time, it's like, you can't let them destroy a federal courthouse, right? I don't know. But while all that craziness is going on, well, they want you to look at what the left hand's doing. The right hand is. Actually, I brought up the Tim Pool video, so I'll just show you which one I'm looking at. Basically, a federal judge who was part of the investigation prosecution, basically of the Epstein's finances, because he was moving money around through international banks. I think Deutschland Bank was the one that was like the center of it. Barr's FBI is still looking into these guys, like into Epstein and his connections. They haven't dropped it like maybe probably the Clinton administration would have. They're digging. They know something's sour. And basically, the judge who was on one of the pieces of the case, assassin showed up dressed as a FedEx driver who wasn't a FedEx person and murdered her son and husband. Yeah, that's some movie level bullshit. I mean, it's really hard to get a gun in New Jersey, so good luck to the next judge who has to defend himself. But yeah, that just happened, and I don't know why. I don't watch news habitually, but sometimes I tune in to see what they're talking about, and they're just complaining about semantics. Trump tweeted this, or Trump said this, or he had a hard interview with Chris Wallace, and Chris Wallace is an asshole. So like, we don't care. Most people just don't care. But you think this would be like the top trending story? Like, okay, this is one of the most high profile sex trafficking case in history, where there's royal family tied in, there's foreign banks, there's all kinds of top U.S. politicians, like the fantasy, the conspiracy fantasy, the thing that they love to pretend always happens all the time, bigger than Watergate, bigger than any other previous scandal. But they mention it in passing. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, hopefully the public is interested enough in it, and these news outlets say, oh, I want eyes, and eyes means money, so I will cover this. Don't expect them to be honest. Expect them to be trying to tie people into it who aren't supposed to be tied into it, kind of like that Netflix documentary, where they just like brought up Trump as many times as they could when they had nothing. None of the victims mentioned him. There was no evidence that he was involved with anything, just that he knew who he was. And they managed to leave out the fact that he had banned Epstein from his properties 15 years ago because of essentially he mistreated one of the staff members at Mar-a-Lago because he was a rapey asshole, Epstein. So, but no credit for that. But they want you to associate Trump with Epstein. That's just all that's about. They want the average person who has TDS to think, oh, Epstein, oh, the corruption, all these horrible things happening. Trump has to have something to do with it. When really, the Trump administration are the only ones who've been prosecuting this guy. The Obama administration had 8 years to deal with the human trafficking and deal with Epstein, and they did nothing. But suddenly Trump gets in and they start doing the investigation. William Barr's searching, digging deeper, trying to find what the financial ties are. And then the judge's family gets assassinated. Like, and I think that's maybe part of it, is that basically they have to talk to the Justice Department, and they might have to bring up the context of all this stuff the Justice Department and the Trump administration are doing to try to get justice for these victims. And because they don't want to talk about that, they're going to just kind of, ignore all this Epstein legacy corruption. I mean, come on, they're moving Maxwell to a different bed every night. Like, she's going to get, bombed like Saddam Hussein used to do. That's not normal. That's not a normal suspect. That also means they don't trust the caretakers. They don't trust the facilities. They don't trust the federal facilities. So, who knows who's in charge right now? I mean, I suspect probably Barr has a team from like HRT or some outer agency or something like that. That they're the ones who are handling this Epstein case and guarding the people involved. And it looks like they should have been guarding the families of the judge involved. They're going to be doing that now. You gotta. So we'll see what happens with that. But I really doubt that everybody will get on the same page and realize that, the things the administration is actually trying to do to bring these people to justice. They're never gonna give him credit for that, or say they're never gonna prop up something that gives credit to Trump doing something good. That's just not how the media operates. So it'll be an interesting story to follow. It's not. It's a shocking thing to happen, but it's so. It's almost so expected that it's like, oh wow, evil people did really evil shit. It's like when ISIS beheads somebody. Like the first time, that's shocking, but when they keep doing it, you're just like, well, they're evil. That's what they do. Like, am I gonna, It's not gonna take a minute out of my day that they did that. I mean, I don't like it. I'd like them to be stopped. And it's kind of like this with this Epstein case, where we're just, Epstein was murdered. We all know he was murdered. It wasn't a suicide. And the investigation was a complete sham and a collapse, and who knows what's going on right now, because Barr got his people involved, and now they're looking into it, and then the money and all this other stuff. Oh, the guards were asleep. Yeah, okay. Cameras suddenly not working. It's just, as I say, Occam's razor, the most obvious solution is usually, the easiest solution is usually the correct one. And in this case, it's homicide, not that all of these things aligned up for a really high-profile prisoner to allow him to be, suicided alone. It just doesn't work like that. If you've ever been to a federal building, it doesn't work like that. So it's interesting. I mean, God, I'm glad I'm not involved, right? I'm glad I'm not a cop trying to, an FBI agent trying to look into this shit, because I'd have to go into hiding. I'd have to put my family in hiding because they're that fucked up, the bad guys. Pardon my French, but I mean, there's some evil people involved with this Epstein conspiracy, for lack of a better term. So I don't know. I'm just saying, pay attention. Don't overthink it, and eventually, maybe there will be justice. Maybe not. Maybe they kill the right person and the evidence disappears. I mean, Epstein's Island was completely ransacked, and they removed all electronics, everything that had any sort of helpful data on it. That had been completely destroyed before the FBI was allowed to show up. There's a video of the FBI guys showing up, and they're showing up on rubber assault rafts. So it's either HRT or FBI SWAT. It wasn't your typical investigators who were showing up to try to get this evidence. So basically, they find that data, which I suspect Maxwell knows where all that stuff is. They find that, they might be able to unravel the whole thing. But if you were implicated in this, you've got a huge head start, because you're getting to destroy the evidence, kill people who can, who can provide witness testimony against you. They've got a huge head start. The FBI is playing absolute catch up, because they made an arrest a couple years ago and finally got him in New York, and obviously he didn't expect that. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have come back to New York. And then all hell is broken loose. The island's raided. I mean, they this is one of the crazy things that some people don't know, and I think people should know just because it lends itself to the bizarreness of the Epstein situation. He had a satanic temple on his island on Little St. James with a big golden dome with some kind of like a cap like you'd see on top of like a mosque or a church, but it was like, satanic, and it was gold, whether it was solid gold or it was gold plated, I don't know. That temple then that big dome was gone. They don't know where that is. It went the way of the evidence. Now that's not something you could just move overnight, unless, well, maybe you could, but it's big. Like, it's either in hiding somewhere or it's being used somewhere else. So they're facilitating satanic rituals along with the child abuse and human trafficking. Like, I'm expecting like Cobra from Sylvester Stallone to show up and crack this open, because this is bizarre, really bizarre, and maybe that's why it went on for so long, because it just was so crazy to think that that's actually occurring in the real world. And I don't know. Then again, maybe that might not have anything to do with it. You might just be really eccentric and like devil worshipping or something. I don't know. We don't know. And we're probably never going to get the full story, because getting all the evidence, I don't see how they're going to get everything that they could get with the amount of time essentially the suspects have had to destroy what's going on and destroy the evidence. There's a lot of money moving around, and that allows people to cover their asses. So, can we prevent this from happening again in the future? Well, all it takes is a whistleblower who's on a lower level before this stuff gets big, because it's not like these people start off, it's not like Epstein said, yeah, I'm going to have a pedo island, I'm going to do international sex trafficking and blackmail politicians and do all kinds of stuff. Like, that doesn't happen overnight. That starts with him being creepy McCreepster at getting, teenage girls to massage him. Somebody needs to call people out. Somebody knew at some point to call them out. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the kids, but we do need to teach our young women and young men that if this kind of stuff occurs, you have to come to somebody. Now, most kids know that, but the kids they target are kids from broken homes usually. So that's extra malicious. But that's by design. They do that. He targets those kind of people because he knows they have, I guess, less social credibility. They have less. They don't have somebody looking out for them. So, we got to look out for each other. We got to look out for our kids, and if we do that, maybe we can prevent something like this happening again. But evil people do evil stuff, and that will always be the case. And just imagine if this were in another country where there is no justice system. You think the child sex traffickers in Somalia get their comeuppance? Doesn't happen. So, in some ways, we're lucky that we're actually getting to see this come to light. In other ways, it's a really hard pill to swallow, because it's like this is the reality. Human beings are that awful sometimes, and there's nothing average Joe, me and you, can do about it except for try to look out for ourselves and look out for the people around us. So that's all. I just thought that was interesting, and it's a developing story, and if you're not following it, you probably should be, because it's, at the very least, it's kind of exciting. It's pretty. You think they were making it up, but no. People getting murdered to protect wherever the money's going through. So, we'll see what happens.